Messi's first official Inter Miami start has just ended. Obviously, a 4-0 win for Inter Miami against Atlanta in the League's Cup. They officially move on to the round of 32, which they will be playing next week. Let's go ahead and dive straight into this. G, what was your initial reaction to Messi scoring 2 goals, getting 1 assist, and obviously Miami winning 4-0?
You know, it was a lot of what we thought we expected to happen. Look, Messi's coming in as one of the best players in the world into a league that is far beneath him. This is what is expected of Messi. But I felt the question that had to be asked was, how was the team going to perform? We always knew Messi was going to do what he does. He's always going to look great. But how is the team going to do? Because Messi doesn't defend. He doesn't, he's not in the goal. He doesn't stop those chances from them conceding. But like we mentioned in past videos before, just the presence of Lionel Messi and Sergio Busquets being there, it's flipped this team around. It's completely transformed them. How they were playing today, the possession they were holding, the way they were able to pass the ball around, there was just this aura of confidence that they had because they know they have that guy and the other team doesn't. And that's the entire effect that's going on. And Atlanta are not a bad team. They're pretty good. I mean, they're not the best team in the MLS, but look, they're no scrub. They're just no random, run-of-the-mill team. This was a legitimate test, and they absolutely smashed them 4-0. It wasn't even close. It wasn't competitive. There was not a moment in this game where it felt, other than an offside goal, that Inter Miami was just not cruising. And Messi was just not cruising. He was styling out there. This was like Messi that we haven't really seen because he's not really the one to make as many flashy passes. But look, he has the liberty. This is basically, barbecue chicken for him because none of these guys can do nothing with him. And he can pick out passes better than anybody because he's one of the greatest passers of all time. So I expected a lot of pure, individual brilliance from Messi, but the fact that he's able to make the team work as a unit, he's trying to make this team, actually play like a proper team and be actually good. It makes them look like real favorites to win every single competition they're in. And that's what the whole idea, I guess, is. And this is going to answer the question of, if you put one of the best players in the world on the worst team in a league, what would happen? And right now, it's looking like it completely transforms them to a team that could win everything.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll just start off by saying this. Is anybody really surprised? I mean, the greatest there was, the greatest there ever will be, Lionel Messi, he's done it again. I mean, we all expected Messi to step into the MLS and immediately hit the ground running and dominate. But I don't think anybody expected it to be exactly like this because Messi was joining a team in Inter Miami that was, let's just be honest, they were shit. Like, that's just being frank. They were a terrible side. I mean, you watch Inter Miami before Messi, they could barely kick the ball around. They couldn't even string a couple passes together. And now they look like a team that is genuine contenders to win every competition they are in. Not only the League's Cup, not only the U.S. Open Cup, but I think they have a serious chance if they're able to sneak into the playoffs of the MLS that they could go on and win the thing. Because who wants to face this team? Because they look scary right now as it is, but they're not done. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with Luis Suarez, but I think they will ultimately get that done. Jordi Alba is joining the team next week. They have a few young players coming in from Argentina on the U22 contracts. I mean, what Miami has done building the squad around Messi has been superb. Obviously, it's not just Messi. And I want to go ahead and give Sergio Busquets his flowers because obviously Messi is getting all of the praise right now, and rightfully so. He's been utterly unbelievable. But he wouldn't be doing this without Sergio Busquets. I mean, that pass on Messi's first goal today, brilliant. And the way he just controls the game, I mean, it's literally they've just taken Barcelona in their prime and brought it into Inter Miami. I mean, this is literally looks like prime Barca. I mean, Miami is literally cooking. I mean, Atlanta, they're not a bad team, like you said. Atlanta's a solid team. And I said, this is going to be a bit of a test because is Miami going to be able to really cook Atlanta? Are they going to really destroy them? What is really going to be like? And it was a walk in the park. There was not a moment besides the first couple minutes of the game where it was like Atlanta really threatened Miami. But after that, it was just cruise control. I mean, Messi scored the goal in the 8th minute. And then after that, Atlanta basically did nothing. I mean, at the end of the game, when they were already down 4-0, they got a penalty, which they ended up getting saved anyway. Atlanta basically did nothing in this game. Miami absolutely dominated. And it just comes down to Messi's presence, obviously, along with Sergio Busquets. Miami have done absolutely everything right after getting Lionel Messi. And I want to go ahead and point out the fact that they made the right managerial appointment. getting Tata Martino in, a guy who is very familiar with MLS, with the whole structure of MLS, all of that was a brilliant appointment. Obviously familiar with Messi as well, and Busquets. Obviously managed Barca back in the day. Wasn't the best, of course, but just having that experience is beneficial. Obviously also coaching Argentina as well. Obviously wasn't the best there either, but he is very good for MLS standards. And I think we're starting to see that this is only, I think they said on the broadcast, they've only been training together for 5 sessions. And this is how good they look. And they're going to add Jordi Alba. They're potentially going to add Luis Suarez. We don't know if that deal is going to get done. And obviously the U22 guys from Argentina that are going to be wanting to prove themselves playing with their GOAT, the greatest of all time, Messi, their idol. This is honestly scary for the rest of the league. And I think Messi is about to put up record-breaking numbers because, I mean, he's basically hit the ground running in America so far, 3 goals in 2 games. Obviously, this was his first start. It's just utterly unbelievable. There's not even enough words almost to describe how dominant he's been. And honestly, I think, I mean, he's going to become Inter Miami's record-breaking goal scorer in no time because I think it's only 26 goals. And he's already got 3 in basically 1.5 games. So that's basically nothing. But I think I have a feeling that next season when he gets to play the full MLS season, he might break every record in the book because this is basically taking the best player in the world right now, putting him on Inter Miami, and they're actually building a very good, competent squad around him that's going to be complementing him and playing to his strengths. Messi is going to absolutely demolish MLS, and I'm excited to see it because, look, say what you want about his PSG stint, you could tell he wasn't happy. You could tell it wasn't his usual self. I mean, he was still good, of course, still the best player in the world, but that's just all, Messi's always going to be the best player in the world, but he wasn't really happy. He wasn't enjoying his football. And what I can tell so far with the Inter Miami is that he's really enjoying his football. I think he enjoys the fact that his family is right there on the pitch, basically with them. It just seems like a nice atmosphere, and you can tell he is going to absolutely cook MLS. He's going to thoroughly enjoy his football, and I'm excited to see how he continues to develop. And honestly, like I said before, I think Inter Miami, even this season, are serious contenders to win every trophy. I mean, who wants to play Inter Miami in the Leagues Cup? Obviously, they're already in the semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup, which is going to be a true test because they're playing FC Cincinnati, who is the best team in MLS at the moment. But I think they don't want to face Messi in Miami, obviously, with potentially Jordi Alba by then and Luis Suarez. I don't want to play them. That's basically a Titan heavyweight matchup, but I would expect Miami to win that. And then obviously, if they sneak into the playoffs, because they are, I think, 12 points behind right now, they sneak into the playoffs, even at the bottom last seed, they could go on and win that thing very, very easily. That's how good this team is, especially if they're going to keep playing like that, like I just saw, because they just basically dismantled a pretty damn good Atlanta team and made them look like they were a bunch of high school kids, made them look like they were a bunch of U18 kids, basically. So it's going to be scary how this is going to all play out. But, overall, I really enjoyed watching it, and I'm going to continue to enjoy watching MLS with Messi in it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the main question that was going to be asked was how the team would perform because Messi can't do everything. That's not what he does. He's going to obviously have the individual brilliance, but it was like this team is still one of the worst defensive teams in the league. How are they going to hold up, going forward? Because that doesn't change. But I think there a little bit of it has to go with, like we mentioned, the presence of Messi and just the fact that I think they all have something really to play for now because it's like now we can actually win. It's like the flip just switched that
he
actually have a chance. He brings confidence and there's a bit of swagger just because these players don't play like that. A lot of these guys, these guys just don't play like that. They're holding the ball up, they're passing well, they're making the right passes, they're being very patient.
Robert Taylor's looking like Neymar.
Robert Taylor might make Messi's all-time, starting 11 soon, man. Like he's starting to cook a little bit like that. He was cooking, and just for the pure fact that you look at the box score, Inter Miami dominating possession. The shots in selection were very similar, but it's just about how Miami held the ball a lot more. It was 60% to 40%. It was just domination. They were just playing with them. And Messi was able just to do everything right. And like you said, Sergio Busquets does a lot because I think that's what really does make it click a lot because it's foundational pieces. It's like they did not just get maybe a striker. If they purely just got a 9, it wouldn't have worked. Because Messi is a guy that connects the midfield to the attack, and Busquets is the anchor of that midfield to the defense. So it's perfect foundational pieces that end up. It's like you can't get any much better than that. And obviously, There's talks they're already getting Jordi Alba next week. That's going to be a spectacular. A guy that Messi already, God knows how many link ups he's had. And then Luis Suarez, a guy who can be more prolific. I think that's the perfect roundup because you don't need that many old players because you need like a good little mix. It's all about the balance of how many old players you have and how many young players. I think they're getting that with the U21 Argentinian players, and they already have some pretty decent players right now.
Yep.
To just have a good mix of the veterans with the younger players with a bit more in the tank with a bit younger legs. So it's just a perfect storm right now. So it's really interesting to see. I want to see Messi try and go, and it's going to be weird to see if Messi wins, these trophies that he's holding them because, it's like we're so not used to seeing it, but it's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, obviously I don't think, him lifting up the Leagues Cup or the US Open Cup is going to compare to the World Cup or the Champions League or La Liga or anything like that. But I mean, there's still trophies at the end of the day. And I think towards this latter end of his career, it's not all about the trophies necessarily, but I mean, when you're a guy like Messi, you expect to win everywhere you go. It doesn't matter when you go to Paris. It doesn't matter if you go to Barcelona, Argentina. You're expected to win. And I think, obviously, with the signings that Messi have made so far, Messi, Busquets, Jordi Alba, we don't know when exactly they're going to get Suarez, but it looks as if it's heading in that direction. Obviously, the young U21 Argentina players as well coming into the fold. That team has to win. Like, they have to win something. At the bare minimum, the expectation has to be you at least win one trophy. Like, there should be... Like, if they don't do that, it's a failure in my eyes because obviously they are 12 points behind in the MLS, but they are in the semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup. And obviously the Leagues Cup, they have just made the round of 32. They have to win something. I'm not saying they have to go on and win MLS Cup because even though I think they should at least make the playoffs, it is a difficult position to be in. Messi's coming in mid-season, I think 12 matches remaining. I mean, if anyone's going to pull that off, it's going to be him, but it's still going to be difficult. But you have to win something. You're in a position to where 2 trophies at the bare minimum are there to be won. You have to win one. It has to be done. And I think they will because if they play anything like this, and I honestly, this is just I think the beginning. They're just kind of scratching the surface of how good they can be when they really get going with, all the chemistry and everyone starts to really learn how they play and all these things. Because I think they kept pointing it out time and time again. I think it's a fantastic point. They've only made 5 training sessions together. 5! And they play like that. So I think they continue to build chemistry, continue to understand each other. They are only going to play better. So when you take that into account, they have to win something. They must win something. If you make all of these marquee signings, you spend all of this money, you break MLS transfer records, you have to win something. You have to have some kind of silverware to show for it. So I think obviously that's the goal. That's the expectation. And based on what I'm seeing so far, I think they will. I think no doubt in my mind they will. They will win something.
I mean, absolutely. They have to win something. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, when you're bringing in Messi, Busquets, Jordi Alba, Suarez, U21 Argentina players that have pedigree, in South America, you have to win something. You know what I mean? I mean, no disrespect to the other clubs, the other players in MLS, but this Miami team, I think, ultimately is going to, on paper, become head and shoulders the best roster in the league. I mean, just when it's headlined by I think still, to this day, right now, the best player in the world, I mean, that's going to happen. I think ultimately you are going to be the best team in the league.
It has to happen.
And even if you don't think right now he is the best player in the world, still it's Mbappe, it's Haaland, whatever. He's in the top 3. At the bare minimum, he's in the top 3. And it's not every day that a top 3 player in the world, I think still the number 1 best player in the world, goes to a considerably worse league in MLS. And, he's just basically, you can just tell. Like, it took 5 minutes on that game to tell how much better Messi is than the competition there. I mean, it's just the vision, what he sees, how he reads the game, the passes, everything. You can just tell it's just Messi and then the competition. And I think that's how it's going to be pretty much every single time he plays the team in MLS. So it's like, I mean, I expect to see a lot of these type of results, honestly, a lot of 4-0s. I genuinely expect to see it. I'm not going to say every game, but I expect to see a lot of results like this.
That was Inter Miami's first 3-0 halftime lead ever. That's how starved. It's still a new franchise, but this franchise has been a loser franchise realistically.
Ever since they joined the league, they've been a franchise that hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
And now the expectation is going from 0 to 100 real quick. To quote Drake, 0 to 100 real quick, because now they went from, well, you're just a shit team to now you better win some silverware. You got to win something. But I mean, when Robert Taylor's playing like Neymar, you have Busquets looking like he's in his prime again. Messi's still the best player in the world. it's going to be interesting to see how Suarez plays, because obviously he's not the same player that he once was. But if they could just get a little bit out of him, because
Let's
no
get
disrespect
something.
to Joseph Martinez, but I don't think he was that great today. I think, he didn't need to be, but I don't think he was necessarily the prolific guy that they need or they
I
want.
think Suarez's passing would just completely change it, because we don't
His
need
link-up play with
Yeah,
Messi.
you don't need Suarez to score 40 goals a season. You just need to have that vision.
Understanding.
Joseph Martinez doesn't have that vision of Luis
Like, you can
fucking
see,
Suarez.
and I
He
give
doesn't
him
have
credit,
to,
you can see he does try to
He
drop back and
tries.
link up with Messi, but Suarez is going to be able to do that at a whole nother level because of their chemistry, because of their understanding, their brotherhood that we've seen in the past. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to look like prime MSN, but it's going to be something. And obviously when they're playing, no disrespect to the MLS defenders, but when they're playing MLS defenses, I think ultimately we might see some glimpses of what we saw in 2015 with Barcelona. So ultimately, it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how it all plays out. I mean, this is only the second game, and obviously maybe some trying to infer on what we can see from the future, but ultimately nobody can predict the future. We don't know exactly how it's all going to play out. So that's why this situation is so interesting, because the question is still out there. We're witnessing it. The answer to the question of, like you said, what happens if you put one of the best players in the world in a league he's considerably better than, and is the worst team in the league. And now we're witnessing that answer, and it's still going to be answered for the remaining of the season and the remaining of his Inter Miami tenure. But it's just a very interesting thing, and we're going to continue to follow it, continue to make videos about it, and give you all our thoughts as the situations develop. Obviously, very excited for next week to see Jordi Alba make his debut, and then we'll go from there and see just how good Inter Miami can be, because who knows, next week they might end up losing in the round of 32, and then we're making a whole other video. So
it's a whole different thing, yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know who they play yet, but I don't think that's going to happen. So
Yeah.
well, we'll have to go ahead and wait and see. So you have to let us know in the comments down below. Were you watching Messi play for Inter Miami? Are you interested in MLS now that Messi is making his debut, scoring goals? Are you watching it? And if you did watch it, let me know your thoughts, your comments down below. What y'all thought about this game, thought about Messi's official first start for Inter Miami. Let us know in the comments. I think slap a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for more football content, because obviously the season is coming back soon. If you're not into the MLS, you're not into American, look, the Premier League is coming back soon. La Liga is coming back. Football is officially coming back very, very soon. I think the Premier League is back in 19 or 18 days or something like that. So subscribe to the channel, because we're going to be making a lot of videos about that. We should have our predictions for the Premier League coming soon, maybe next week. We're going to make that video, so stay tuned for that. And I think without further ado, we can go ahead and wrap up this video and get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
So I'm Zach.
I'm G.
And we'll see y'all next time for another video on the channel. Peace.